A vague disclaimer is no one's friend. This podcast will look at episodes in relation to Buffy and Angel as a whole, and therefore contains spoilers for the entirety of both series. If you haven't seen all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel the series, go and watch them before you listen to this. Remember, you've been warned.
The hardest thing in this world is to live in it.
That's why there's us, champions. We live as though the world were as it should be, to show it what it can be.
The Earth is definitely doomed.
It's Tuesday, so it must be time to return to the Hellmouth. We're going through the Buffyverse episode by episode and a look back at Joss Whedon's iconic shows. I'm Emcee, and I'm here with...
Andie.
David.
Jan.
And I'm Logan.
It's like Mouseketeer roll call.
It really is, yeah.
For me, I want to go full on hairspray.
I am Annette.
Oh, okay, you can totally be Annette.
I want to be Cubby.
Mouseketeers was before my time. Sorry.
It was before my time too, but you know.
I immediately go Ryan and Brittany.
I'm actually, it's slightly before my time because I watched them when they were in reruns, and I'm sure David did too.
Yeah.
But because Annette was already in actual movies by that point. But I remember it well because I used to watch it in reruns or syndication or whatever. So.
And I'm just a pop culture junkie that knows that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it's Tuesday, and Tuesday is guest star day. But anyway.
Anyways, yes, so we are going to be reviewing an actual Buffy episode and not just talk about the Mickey Mouse Club, even though that is awesome. That's going to be our next podcast.
Yes. Yes, every single episode of the Mickey Mouse Club we'll cover.
This is episode 5 of season 2, Reptile Boy. It originally aired October 13th, 1997, and it was written and directed by David Greenwalt, who I realized after looking at this episode and his previous episode, Teacher's Pet, and some of the future episodes that are coming up, I really don't like David Greenwalt all that much.
Yeah, I don't either. We had a whole talk on one of the episodes, on Teacher's Pet episode, about all the gross teen sex comedies he wrote before he started becoming a TV writer, so I don't have a great opinion of him either.
Yeah, I'm looking at him up now because I know I've seen his name in a million places, but I didn't realize what he was responsible for in the past. So
he was he's the co-creator of Angel, and then I believe he's the showrunner on Grimm.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. I'm looking at that now.
So,
and he wrote an episode of Moonlight, the one that
Jason Doran was on, right?
The vampire show.
Yeah.
Moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
And
Jason Doran.
just looking at the Buffy and Angel episodes that he's done, he did shit like She. He did I Fall to Pieces.
He did Ted, which I absolutely loathe.
Did you say love or loathe?
Loathe. I don't like that episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am rather indifferent to it. It seems like a lot of the episodes that Greenwalt does has some super problematic shit with women.
Oh yeah.
Especially this one.
And this episode definitely included because oh my god, just
I really went into this expecting to hate it, and I didn't hate it as much as I did back in the day. Because just to me, it was a badly written, possibly well-meaning parable about date rape. I don't know. That's where I took from it, and that's we'll talk about it more. But it still had many issues. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, probably the most redemptive part of this episode for me happens to be the very first part of this episode.
One of my favorite openings of the season. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is I see a lot of people online comparing it to early episodes of Friends, and I'm like, I don't really care about. I mean, I love Friends, but it's I don't want to compare it.
Specifically, there is an episode of Friends where they watch a foreign film and do something
or
with
dubbing
it.
in the language.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, I saw that specific comparison made online when I was looking up what movie it was.
Yeah.
So,
but I honestly just don't care. I just love that they are hanging out together, and they're just being friends, and they're braiding Willow's hair and eating Slim Jims.
I thought that was adorable that, all of a sudden Buffy's just sitting there playing with Willow's hair. And it was such a nice, intimate, as you said, friendly moment with no angst, no vampires, no Scooby stuff going on. Just
they're
chilling.
braiding they're braiding her hair, but only the Xander side is properly braided. So Xander's the one that actually can braid, and Buffy's just like kind of foofing.
Yeah. Okay, I took it as Buffy had done one side already and was doing the other because Xander couldn't possibly have those skills. But that's
Xander.
Who's to say that he doesn't? I mean, maybe he went to the Chris Pratt school of braiding women's
all right, it's possible.
Or maybe just Willow taught him that when they were like 7. Who knows?
Yeah, I could see that after the yellow crayon thing.
Yeah, I do love that Xander's side is nicely braided and he's playing with the ends still. So like I just want a headcanon that Xander braided it perfectly and Buffy's just sort of like not paying attention.
All right, I'll buy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree, Emcee. The opening of this, it's my first note. It's one of my favorite openings of the season. I really do love, the older I get, the more I watch this show over and over and over again, ad nauseum, the more I really enjoy the human aspects and human interactions, sometimes more than the supernatural.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible to say this because I know we're doing this rewatch. I've been bouncing around to later episodes of Buffy.
Me too.
Ones that we're not going to be getting to for like another 3 years or something. And that's one of the things that really bums me out when we get to the later seasons, and that's the fracturing of the Scooby Gang. But here we get this lovely opening where they're just hanging out, just with no, they're just enjoying each other's company, and I just love that.
It is a lovely moment. And there are a couple of really lovely moments. There's some really problematic stuff with women in this episode, but I do want to credit Greenwald for understanding these characters and their specific voices and adding some of that really cute relationship dynamic stuff in, which there is a bit. There's some really great Giles and Buffy stuff in this episode too.
Mm-hmm. There's also a really nice bit with during the scene where Cordy is giving Buffy her instructions for the party, where like after Willow and Xander pass them and go and sit on a couch somewhere, they have this really nice scene where the two of them like just have this thing, like one of them they're talking and one of them hands the other a Coke and they share a Coke and they just have this conversation and you really get the feeling from that scene that if there wasn't this whole running subplot about the romantic tension between them, because, Willow wants to date Xander and all that. It's like, they're just really good friends.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does actually, it backs up Xander's at least belief that they are best friends. I mean, even if you take out the UST part, he's acting like she's his best friend. He's very comfortable with her.
Well, they are best friends.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, throughout the series, things keep coming up.
Looking at this episode, this might actually be one of the first episodes where there is absolutely no reference to the fact that Willow has a thing for Xander.
No, but she and Buffy still go on about Angel.
Well, we'll get to that soon.
Yeah, the sitting in the little common area room, that's another note of mine, is I absolutely adore that joke. It's so casually done, and I think the comedic timing on it, the orgy joke, is spot on.
Yeah. Well, do we think, like, the sharing of the Coke, do we think that's a Greenwald thing, or do we think that might be the director? I missed
Greenwald is the director.
Oh, okay. All right, then he gets credit. Okay.
I suspect Greenwald might be a better director than he is writer.
I
admit I watched this at 3 a.m, and I took notes, but not everything penetrated my little 3 a.m. brain at that point, so...
Mm-hmm.
And during the scene of Willow and Xander together, probably my favorite joke of this episode is it's not askew, it's cockeye.
Yes.
Askew means cockeye.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a really good one. Willow has a great character development in this episode.
Entire episode.
You're like, what? Wow, okay, that's really... When she yells at the guys at the end, I'm like, you go, girl.
No, I thought that was beautiful.
That
she
outburst
suddenly
is
finds
wonderful.
Her voice. And she's right.
Yeah. I really like that. I really wish that maybe, Giles, Giles is being such an asshole to Buffy, and it's like, you need to train. Giles, how about you take some of that energy and fucking train Willow to defend herself, because she's going in to that frat house and, just kind of, well, even Xander is throwing punches. Willow is just kind of flailing and trying to, stay back from the action. And I'm like, God damn it, Willow.
And that pissed me off, actually, because the week before, when she's picking up busts and banging people on the heads to save Cordy's ass from vampires, and, in School Hard. And then all of a sudden, she's suddenly standing around screeching like, a scream queen.
We could say she's standing around screeching, or we could say that she's focusing on the real issue at hand while the boys are fighting a bunch of,
that's
teenagers.
True.
Which is true.
She's like, where's my best friend and this random missing girl?
And she keeps saying, guys, basement, now.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So she's being observant on that level of, getting a layout of the train and figuring out where they are.
She's basically on topic and no one else is.
Exactly.
True.
But she's still doing some screaming and flailing about, and it just kind of bothered. Because, I don't need everybody to be like, rawr, I'm gonna fight, but I need that to happen sometimes. It's still going to be 4 episodes before we get Willow staking a vampire for the first time, and she doesn't even do that unassisted. And also, Allie had to ask for it. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
yes.
But at least we've got something better than we had last season, because last season
Very true.
she was essentially a walking plot device.
Yeah, no, she has definitely more of a characterization here. And it's characterization that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about some discrepancies, would you mind? Since I'd like to redeem myself. I mentioned in a previous episode, I'm not sure if it was the last episode or the one before, Angel's age. And David absolutely corrected me. He does say that he is 241 in this episode. However, I did not do the basic math wrong at all. So if Liam was born in 1727, as it is said that he did, by 1987... he should be, if we discount the 26 years he lived as a human, 244, or, if we do include them, 270. So, I think that's just an example of the writers completely ignoring their own canon when they would later go on to, give a specific date when he was born.
Yes.
They just did the math very poorly.
It's basically Doctor Who aging at this point, where he's just making up numbers.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, at 126, Spike is barely 200. So.
I don't think they understand how time works, is what's happening here.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey.
There's also a really big inconsistency. I don't know if we're going to go
Linearly?
Thank you.
Linearly, yeah.
Through the episode, but I'm sorry, Angel, how did he get in the frat house?
Actually, there is a theory on that.
There is a reason.
I read that on the internet last night, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. There is a theory on that. It bugged me, too, so I actually did look it up. There's a theory that Makita, the demon, actually owns the frat. That, the cult kind of gave the frat.
That's a different theory than the one I saw.
Yeah.
So.
I think probably Jen and I were talking about the same one, the one where since the boys are transitory.
Yeah, they're
or
not
transient,
permanent
rather.
dwellers, so therefore it's not their house, which is kind of BS, but...
Yeah, but that's the internet justifying a huge mistake on the part of the writer and director of this episode.
Can Angel go into hotels?
No. Oh, yes,
Yes,
you can, because
vampires
that's
can go into
public
hotels.
accommodations, yes.
Then it's kind of a fine point here, I think.
Here's the thing, they can't go into dorm rooms.
So I think Emcee's theory that since the Naga owns the house, or the frat house, or whatever, that seems to make more sense since...
Yeah, actually, during the ritual, Tom says that they have no wealth or possessions without Makita.
Okay.
So Makita, I mean, it is totally bullshit headcanon. Angel should not be able to get in there.
Yeah.
No.
But I will accept this. This actually does make sense to me. And we will find out, I believe, in Buffy, but at the very least we find out on Angel that Angel does not need an invitation to get into a demon's house.
Okay.
Well, could it be that the frat guy who sort of waved Xander in, there's a blanket invitation and he just wandered in behind Xander?
There was a suggestion of that too. So.
And honestly, though, it's really the writers fucking it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can think of all cool headcanons, but it's inconsistency.
No, it's a plot hole, and it should have been dealt with.
It's my job to come up with headcanons.
I know, baby, and you're so good at it, and I love you for it.
Or it's not shown,
sarcastic.
but like Giles or Xander or Willow invites him in.
But don't you have to be the
that
house
would
owner or
work.
live
Yeah,
there?
they have to-
Yeah.
You have to
They-
live there.
They couldn't do that.
Again, the question of ownership here is kind of fuzzy. I mean, look, this is all speculation anyway. So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it's a frat house, so the people who own it, it's not even the people who live there. It should either be the frat as a blanket corporation, as it were, a blanket organization, as it were, or yeah, it's the demon. So
I'm pretty sure it's probably the demon.
yeah, because at the end, after he's gone, they're saying like all these people are losing their money and all that. So the frat house is one small, tiny part of that. So.
Which is frankly my favorite part. Like, yeah, come on, Scooby. Seize the means of production. Down with capitalism. Destroy capitalist scum. The fact that...
Also, the other thing I was thinking while watching this episode is, okay, can we make a pact here with us? We find out the date and the date and the location of where Trump and the Trump administration are keeping their version of Makita. We kill it,
my
and all
God.
this bullshit is over.
That's exactly what's going on.
Well, if anybody goes to my Instagram account, there I did put up a reptile, and I did say I know who I wanted to feed to Makita. So there you go.
In this case,
I'm part of this pact.
All the men in power BS in this, like they all get their power from worshiping Makita and doing the sacrifice. We just need to find out when that next sacrifice is taking place, take out the demon, and then that's it. Like, no more Trump administration.
Well, it must be in the basement of Trump Tower, which is going to be hard to get to.
I know, but logistics, because I think that is the only reason that he got elected is because there's some kind of demon involved.
Oh, that's
Speaking
obvious.
about logistics, I would like to know what the fuck is up with the guys kidnapping a girl a week before the ritual.
I was wondering about that.
There.
How
Thank
long do
you.
they have to collect girls?
Yeah, because with Buffy and Cordy get taken that night, and they're ready to feed them that night. So
And they're only sacrificing 3 girls, and it's like there were a bunch of girls at that party. So why the fuck are you taking a girl a week early?
Is there maybe a like virgin stipulation that they don't like cover at all because of lazy writing?
They don't mention. I don't think they mention a virgin stipulation.
They don't mention a virgin sacrifice. And I mean, how the fuck are the guys supposed to know that Buffy and Cordelia are virgins?
I think that's why.
Is Cordelia a virgin?
I don't know, but
so.
I think that's probably why they prey on high school girls.
Yeah, I would think so.
And not random, like, college
girls.
sophomore or juniors at the party. But there's no way to know.
Which is, again, a gross assumption of when people make their sexual debut. That's
For sure.
I can see this crowd making gross assumptions all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but it's kind of BS. I mean, when I was a college freshman, and that was in 1980, I was one of the few people that, was still a virgin in those days. Because most of the girls, and I was living in an all-women dorm, and a lot of them had, had lots more experience than I did. So it really is a gross assumption that high school girls are going to be pure and what have you.
no,
There
absolutely.
is something very peculiar. It's not out of the realm of possibility that there should be 2 people with the same last name, but both the victim that is taken the week before and not the main guy, the guy who's flirting with Buffy, but the guy who went with Cordelia,
Richard.
both have the last name Anderson. So
Lazy?
I also note that Richard Anderson is the name of the actor best known for playing Oscar Goldman on The $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman.
Yes.
Who actually has a huge listing on IMDb, but basically that's what everyone knows him from.
And Richard Anderson is the very first boy I ever went on a date with. We saw The Karate Kid. I don't think it's the same Richard Anderson, but that was the name of my very first date.
Andy, what have I told you about dating boys who sacrifice girls?
Well,
I never kill a boy on a first date.
Well, I guess I'm out too.
I can't promise anything.
But anyways, with these 2 characters, with these two characters named Anderson, and it's not like it was just like in the script or something, or in like some supplementary material. It's actually mentioned in the episode that both of them are named Anderson. So it's not a coincidence. So I'm almost wondering if there was a bit cut out where it turns out that Callie was actually related to Richard, and that he sacrificed like his sister or something,
or his cousin.
which is weird headcanoning, but I thought I would throw it out there because this is what I do.
It might explain why she was there early, though.
Yeah,
You could just grab her from school.
Yeah, it's like might as well just grab her and keep her on hand.
and I believe he's actually the one that when she tries to escape early in the episode, I believe he's the one that's talking to her, to take when he's taking her back.
Yes, because he's the guy who gets the reveal.
Yeah, so it's almost like it would make, like, if you go in and you watch it thinking that there is a relation between them, it actually adds a layer to things that this episode desperately needs more layers.
Yes. This is a rather unpleasant layer, but yes, it's a layer.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, they're very unpleasant people in that frat, so.
Yes.
This entire episode is unpleasant.
In fact, I wanted to ask, it's like, we don't get a real answer as to whether Tom is a junior or a senior. Because he starts out saying
senior.
He says he's a senior, and then he says he's a junior.
Oh.
So, but like, how icky is it for a junior or a senior in college to ask out a junior in high school?
It's icky.
That's what I thought.
Oh, it's so icky.
I knew people who did, in both ways, but it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I knew it was icky. I was just not sure how icky.
But then why are we cool with it at the end when Angel and Buffy come to a sort of understanding? Because
That's
he's
my
not
question.
I'm not
too.
cool with it.
I'm not okay with it.
Yeah, because exactly. Because not only is he 26 when he died, technically he's also throwing a couple of 100 years on top of that. We're not sure how many, though, apparently.
Right.
So.
But at least he's not trying to sacrifice her.
Not yet.
I was actually watching some later episodes of Buffy, and one of the ones that I watched was Crush, when they get into the fact that Dawn has a thing for Spike.
Yeah.
And the thing is, actually, the age difference between Dawn and Spike is less than the age difference between Buffy and Angel.
Yep.
Yeah.
How old is Spike supposed to be? I mean, how old is when he was turned?
When he was turned, I don't
30?
think they ever get into that.
I would say around 30-ish, right?
I don't know. They've always gotten, like, really, like,
vague about.
Never really covered that.
Yeah. No, asking out a 16-year-old girl, unless you're a boy between the ages of 14 and 18, is just not gonna. That doesn't fly.
Yeah.
I did it. I was dating tons of random 22-year-olds when I was 16. It's not something that doesn't happen. I was also scamming them for beers because I was dating the nerdy soundboard operators at like a bunch of theaters that I was doing community theater at. So I would scam them for beer. And they probably felt worse about it than I did, but what you gonna do?
And I was just going to say also, in defense, at least in older, I mean, my dad is 7 years older than my mother, and my mom met my dad when she was 16, but she was a freshman in college at that point, and my dad was in night school, so he was, hanging around. So my mother seemed older, so I don't think they actually was aware. But that's also was 50 years ago. So
and your dad wasn't a frat boy. Who was specifically trying. And so even if you take this, even if you take this away from the Makita issue and the sacrifice issue and make it just that metaphor for grody age inappropriate frat boys hitting on teenagers, that's what's going on here. It's purposely they're using their status as older guys to pick up girls that are going to be a lot more impressionable and know less about themselves than a college woman or someone older that's going to be like, you guys are full of shit, enough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you take the big snake demon out of it.
Yeah.
You still have a bunch of senior college students taking junior girls to a frat party, giving them drinks, pressuring them to drink them by saying it's like, oh, when I was your age, I wasn't into adult things either. And oh, by the way, the drinks are drugged.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a very bad parable about date rape, and not, from 20 years ago, and it's more prevalent now. So it's very skeevy. It's
Well, here is my problem with it as a parable for rape. There is an actual rape attempt in it.
Yep.
I would just, it's like, they didn't need to fucking do that.
right.
It would have come off perfectly clear if they didn't have that skeevy ass guy feeling up Buffy while she was unconscious on a bed. It would have come off perfectly fine, and everybody would know exactly what they're driving at. And it's like, no, we have to go this one step farther.
Because it's David Greenwald and he's gross.
Right. And also, in case you missed it the first 12 times, let's just throw an extra layer of grossness.
Yeah. And it's not, I fucking hated these frat guys, and I was so glad that they all got there. Apparently, in the original script, Tom was supposed to actually get eaten by Makita.
Yes.
Like, in Makita's death throes, he was going to eat Tom, but the special effects were not
I actually
good
think
enough.
having him be locked up in perpetuity is a better punishment than
Yeah,
just
no,
going out
I
eating.
like that. I like that
Yeah.
that happened. But even outside of that, there was so much slut-shaming of Cordelia in this.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Xander,
Well, Xander is skeevy and icky in this for the most part, until the end as well. His whole shtick just makes me want to slap
She's
him
also
again.
pretty hard on Xander. You've got that whole dynamic going on with Cordelia where she's going to give it to him right back.
Yeah, but Xander's also gross about Buffy. That's what I'm saying. His whole shtick is like with any woman, it's just like stop now.
Oh, yeah. No, hard as it is to believe, Xander's jealousy is getting even more tiresome at this point.
Oh, God. I know. I'm like, enough of you. Stop it.
Yeah, it's like the writers don't quite know what else to do with him. It's like, please, just stop.
So even in the end, when he turns out that he's right, that these guys are really bad for them, it's just like, I don't care. It's like, stop, Xander.
The only thing that I really like from Xander in this episode is at the very end when he's bad-mouthing Angel. And it was just like, hey, man.
I know, it's great.
And it's not like he, has a moment where he, oh, I shouldn't have said that. He's just like, hey, man. And then just goes back to reading his paper.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, Xander, looking at the writing, there is nice, legitimate callback when he, they have, when he says, oh, you can smell the blood. That's the kind of guy you want to party with. And then later when Angel shows up and vamps out, when they're going to go in and save everyone, he's like, oh, he is the guy you want to party with. I was like, okay, that's actually a decent callback.
That's not bad. Though honestly, with these interactions with Xander and Angel, I see why they didn't want to in season 5 of Angel, apparently Nikki offered valiantly to come over onto Angel for some guest appearances.
Because he needed the cash.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say that. I did. But the Joss and everybody was like, no, Nikki, it's okay. We don't know if Xander would really fit in on the show.
Especially with both Angel and Spike.
Yeah. And it's like there is absolutely nothing that he could have done. Because, there's only a couple of times when I really like the Angel and Xander dynamic. I think most of them have passed already.
I feel like there'd be more legitimacy in a Xander and Spike relationship, considering the summer without Buffy. They do have that confrontation where Spike, when they bring her back, I fought next to you and things like that. I feel like that would be a better dynamic. There's really none of that with
They also lived together a couple of times, and if I heard correctly, I don't read the comics, but I do occasionally wiki the comics just to see what's going on, and I'm pretty sure they're sharing an apartment right now, and they're doing it willingly.
I thought he was living with Buffy right now.
Some stuff it takes a while to get updated, but the last I heard was that Spike and Xander were living together.
Why am I suddenly hearing the theme from The Odd Couple in my head?
Did I get the theme song right? Was that it?
Yes, you did.
Awesome.
Can these two live together in a part without driving each other crazy?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, they have. At this point, they have lived together a couple of times.
Yeah,
You
no,
see that
it works.
in season 4
Yeah,
and
it
season
works.
7.
On this date, Xander Harris was asked to leave his residence. This request came from all of us.
Yeah, can we talk about Willow for a second? I know we briefly covered
Yes.
her, but
Yes.
I do want to just really, I loved Willow in this episode, mostly because she's a solid wing woman.
Yes.
she's kind of nailing it in that respect. But I'm just really fond of her.
I like her talking about coffee and how it's
bitter and
yeah, and she's like, it's not a relationship, it's a caffeinated beverage. Yes, it's hot and bitter like a relationship. And I'm like, Willow, how do you know?
I think
She just read it on the internet.
I don't know.
the
Yeah,
only
it's a great
illusion.
line.
I think that was a
feelings
line
for
from her
Xander.
Doogie Howser MD fanfic.
Well, that's quite possible. But also, I think there's certainly some bitterness in her relationship with Xander, as much as she cares for him.
Yeah.
But I love her in this episode. It's like the outburst is wonderful at Giles and Angel, and it's like,
And they deserve it.
but the thing that I absolutely love is at the end she's like, and this hasn't made me feel any better.
Yeah, this hasn't made me feel any better, and Buffy's still in danger.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Personally, I also really like the fact that she's very uncomfortable covering up for Buffy's lies, and when she
Yes.
finally bursted out, because you can see, I just thought it was really good acting on Allison's part, because you can see the frustration, and it's comedic, but it's also like, yes, this is her. She's not somebody who's used to lying, who's comfortable lying, and she doesn't know how to cover up, and then just suddenly bursted out.
We actually talked about this in I Robot You, Jane. Actually, Willow lies a fucking
Willow
lot.
always lies. Willow's a big fat liar who lies.
And not only is she a liar, but she is a liar about the fact that she lies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she freaks out about this kind of stuff, but she does it all the time.
I think she's more uncomfortable with other people's lies than her own.
Fair enough.
That makes
True
sense.
that, because she can
more
justify
uncomfortable.
her own lies.
Perhaps it's more that she's uncomfortable specifically lying to Giles. Maybe do we get any sort of indication when her mentioned sort of crush on Giles?
Well, at
begins
this
and
point,
ends?
she already has the picture of Giles up in her locker. So I would say she probably has... I'm saying that probably went up, at the end of the harvest.
Yeah. So
Yes.
maybe it's just that she doesn't want to lie to Giles.
Well,
Maybe.
who does want to lie to Giles? Or lie with
Lie with
Giles?
wanna lie
Giles?
on
I knew you
Giles.
were going there.
Yeah, well, I'm predictable.
Yeah, just as an aside, it's just in the realms of fan fiction back in the day, I had friends who legitimately shipped Buffy and Giles, and I read some very good future stuff of Buffy and Giles because when the show was still going. But I don't think I've ever actually seen or read any Willow and Giles, and I'm surprised about that.
Oh, there's
actually.
a ton.
Okay,
There's a ton.
so I guess I just never knew anybody that shipped them. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a very common pairing back in the day. Because even before... Because, it's not revealed until season 4?
5?
5,
Four.
yeah.
5? Well, no.
Well, no, it's in the episode where the wild things are, where,
It's
you
5.
know, Buffy...
4.
Yeah, because Riley is still in the frat house. It's the one where Buffy and Riley are fucking in the frat house for the entire episode, and they have to go get Giles from the espresso pump when he's singing.
Behind blue eyes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and then Willow says, "I remember I had a crush on him all those years."
And I think even Tara in that episode's like, "Huh, I see it." Yeah.
Dude, everyone's straight for Giles.
I have a question, actually. Is Willow canonically homosexual or bisexual, or do
In
we
that
not know?
episode,
Oh,
she
do
says
not get me
gay
started
now.
on this.
Yeah,
don't get me started on this either.
I don't
We're going
wanna
to talk
start
about
yet.
this later,
We'll
and I
talk
will
about
rant
that
a
in a
lot.
couple years.
Okay. No, I was wondering if there was a canonical. I'm not
It's
not
called by
speculation.
erasure.
Canonically, she's a lesbian.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we will definitely
we will talk
get into
about how.
Oh
to
yeah, no, that's
Ad
fine.
nauseam.
I'm willing. I'm wait. I know speculation will come, but and commentary, but
Although they retconned it because obviously when they were writing her at that point, Joss hadn't decided who the gay character was going to be, so she's canonically straight at this point.
well, at this point,
So,
yeah, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's just something I've been wondering.
Yeah.
Because I think about things. It's a
You
it's a
think
problem.
about Willow being bisexual?
I think about Willow. I like Willow.
Willow Spank Inferno.
Yes.
Sometimes I think about two girls doing a spell together, and then I
Yeah.
do a spell by myself.
Especially in the back of ice cream vans.
Oh, that was an
Okay,
interesting
so
episode.
back
Yeah.
on this episode.
Yes.
We've
We've abandoned the linear approach totally at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
We pretty
Okay,
much
'cause-
basically.
Now I have to like search through my notes to see where everything is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have just like one aside because I had mentioned this the other day that I remember that there was a Babylon 5 connection. The guy who actually played Makita, who you don't see under the makeup, Robin Atkins Downs, I think I'm gonna
Yes.
Robin
Yes.
Atkins Downs. He's actually gorgeous. He was a regular character in the 5th season of Babylon 5, a character called Byron.
Yes.
Who is the love interest, and he's really good, and he's so pretty. And when I found out that he was like in this, I was not knowing the episode. I thought he was one of the frat boys, and then I'm like, wait a minute, you're hiding his pretty face under snake makeup?
Under makeup and
Snake
dodgy
up, I'm
CGI.
Yeah,
Snake up.
I'm
Oh,
so sorry.
he's
I
actually a
love it.
decent actor, but I feel so sorry for him that he had that role. So at
Yeah.
least he got to redeem himself on Babylon 5, sort of, because season 5 is
Yeah.
kind of a...
My note says, "Hello, I'm a reptile and also a penis."
Thank you,
Yes.
Andy. Oh my god, I was literally waiting to bring that up. Thank
Oh,
you.
but
Yeah.
I think David had something. Did you have something?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just because with the Babylon 5 reference, I happened to look up Optic Nerve because I was trying to figure out if they actually won an Emmy for Buffy and for what.
they claim to.
They know it. Like, this is the interesting thing. I'm looking all over the internet and it keeps saying Optic Nerve won 3 Emmys. One for Buffy, one for the X-Files, and one for Babylon 5. But I cannot find the details as to what they won it for.
Tweet Glenn Hetrick.
Yeah, that's the thing. I also notice that on the IMDb page for this episode, there is a special effects technician credited. No other special effects people have taken any credit for this episode.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logan, back to the penis.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
please.
that's what I was talking about in terms of bad parables. It's like,
Yeah.
without making any puns here, they're literally shoving it down your throat at this point, in a Freudian manner, that here is the giant phallic symbol.
Yeah, and then the woman escapes and reclaims her,
And cuts it
autonomy
off.
by cutting it off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's me, but it's like, can you really avoid that easily when you've got a snake monster?
Nope.
No,
No.
I mean
Well,
that's just
Why
gonna
does
happen.
it have to be a fucking snake monster?
I mean, there are
It's the
so
evil
many snake
Penosaurus.
monsters in Buffy.
There's
my God.
absolutely no reason why it has to be a snake monster other than to be a penis.
Right.
And
Especially
also,
in
I
this
mean,
episode.
if you look at the scene at the beginning with Callie, when they're carrying Callie off, all of the dialogue and the way they're carrying her off, it comes off like a gang rape.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. It's
Oh,
really
definitely.
distasteful.
Yeah, no, oh god. Should we do, I mean, we have so many counters for like, Giles getting knocked out and, improvised stake weapons, but I almost feel like we need to have a sexual assault counter. Because
Ooh, that would just make me really sad. And
I know, right?
It's gonna enrage me because it happens.
Yeah.
I love
I
this
am
show, but
already-
it definitely happens.
yeah,
so
I mean, it's not even like this is the first one that's happened. There's already been a couple.
Yeah.
Maybe.
and not just of women, which I guess egalitarianism, but
Yeah.
ew.
Well, I have so many feelings about the sexual assault of men.
Mhm. Yeah, in my
which I know,
notes-
which is so weird that it's like but what about the men?
What about?
But
them?
in
Let me
this
tell you.
case, it's totally valid, MC, because we will see it happen and be addressed in a totally different way with the men in the Buffyverse.
Yeah, no, I mean, once we get to those episodes where that will happen, I will have so many feelings.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
And actually, for those listeners who check out my YouTube show, I have addressed some of them in my Joss Whedon video. So if you want to,
It's a great video. Highly recommended. It's real good.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Um,
Valid plug. Yeah, even in my notes, I'm just like, that's a big Naga. And immediately after, that's a big misogynist Naga.
yeah, and I mean, like, the Naga are not, like, at all, like, Makita is portrayed. This is
No,
just-
no.
No.
It just happens to be like a snake dude. But and that's the only word I could come up with that wasn't snake dude. And considering the Bollywood in the beginning of the episode, I wonder if there wasn't a connection.
I could honestly see that.
So here's the trivia on the name, Makita.
Oh yeah.
I guess it was like on one of the sides of one of the grips pieces of power tools.
It's the drills. Yeah,
it's the drills. Yeah.
So
And
how
David
much more
Green-
Freudian can you get?
I mean, he spelled it differently, but
Right,
Yeah.
but Greenwald said, "Oh, I thought I came up with it, and then I was walking around the set when we were shooting and went, oh, that's where I got that."
yeah.
And apparently there were plans to make Makita a recurring villain, and aren't we so glad that there were CGI problems?
Seriously, I mean, he's not penis. Phallic symbol aside, he's really dull. What does he do? They feed him and he pops up out of the snake pit and then she chops him up. I mean, he really doesn't do anything. He's not scary. He's not interesting. He doesn't have a personality. He's just blah.
And the thing is, I'm looking at him like, it doesn't look like his mouth opens very wide. How is he going to eat? He basically looks like he's just going to gnaw on their shoulders or something. It's really kind of ridiculous. Although I have to say, before the commercial break, when we first see Makita, props to the editors. They really cut down the amount of time we spent looking at him. Which is the way to do this when you have a not so great monster.
It's the Jaws scenario.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking it's a Lovecraft thing, and maybe he sucks their brains out with the straw.
Here is the thing, and I hate that I am the one to bring this up because I don't like that my brain works like this. But there are bones from girls going back 50 years, in not the cavern that the girls were in, but in where Makita was living. And also, Tom specifically said, she's not here for your pleasure, but for our masters. So I'm pretty sure Makita is dragging those girls back to his lair and doing whatever he needs to do. And I'm pretty sure he was eating them very, very slowly.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's sarlacking them?
Yeah, well,
I verbified Sarlacc. Thank you very much.
I love it.
Yay. Well, I mean, snakes, do digest really, really slowly, so maybe there's some weird snake demon science behind this.
Maybe not just, I think he's just keeping girls in his lair and doing whatever creepy ass thing David Greenwald is coming up with, and just eating because he does have a small mouth, just eating part of them at a at a time. So I don't think he was planning to devour them whole.
Yeah.
For my own peace of mind, I'm just going to assume that they really didn't think it through very far.
No, they didn't.
I really hope there wasn't a moment in the writer's room where they were like, so he eats them slowly, right?
Yeah, no.
Great.
I'm going for the real world explanation of no, they just didn't give a whole lot of thought to it. Because I'm just more comfortable that way.
Maybe he can disconnect his jaw. Like a real snake.
There's something else that we haven't talked about in this episode a lot, and that's the evolution of Buffy and Angel's relationship. And
when you kiss me, I want to die.
Oh,
thank you.
I was waiting for somebody else to say that line. That is one of my least favorite lines.
So bad.
Ever.
It's so
and David Greenwald in the commentary praises that line. And I'm just I think he came up with it, so of course he did.
Of course he did.
But
it's fucking terrible.
I forget if he said that he did and Joss said, oh, that's a good line, or Joss came up with it and he said it was a good line. I forget. But my question is, have they been doing a whole lot of kissing?
No,
Not
just
really.
the one. And then the surprise vampire. To be fair, that is such a 16-year-old girl thing to say.
It is. There are a few times where I'm like, okay, such a 16-year-old girl thing to say, and I know we hate it when Willow and Buffy are just like, boys, 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 but it is kind of a 16-year-old girl thing to do.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And this whole overly dramatic relationship where it's fraught all the time. But Angel is not a 16-year-old girl.
I was gonna say, okay, maybe Buffy is a 16-year-old girl and will say things like, "When you kiss me, I want to die." But what the fuck is up with a 241-year-old saying, "When I kiss you, you don't wake up from a deep sleep"? What kind of line is that?
I don't know.
That line is nothing but setup for the next line.
Right. And on top of that, it's like all those people again who complained about Edward and Bella and their cheesy dialogue. This is not helping that argument that Buffy and Angel's relationship is so much better and smarter and whatever, because those lines are horrible.
So, so given that Angel broods a lot and he's, does all that reading, which may very well be lots of depressing poetry and fairy tales, are we sure he's not a 16-year-old girl?
Okay, so here's where, so I thought a lot about this while I was driving today, about Buffy, about Angel, and all the gang. But Angel, yes, has been alive for I don't know how many ever years it is because it's not consistent.
200 and something, yeah.
Right, 200 and schmata. But he was Angelus for a lot of that. Before that, he was Liam, who is just all manner of drunken frat boy, basically.
There you go.
And then, he has not had social interaction. So
but here's the problem with that. It's not like they do a factory reset on Angel when he gets desold and resold and everything. Angel is kind of just a combination between Liam and Angelus with, all of this life experience added onto it.
You're very valid point.
Yeah. And Angel is such a weird character, and I mean, I will start to sing his praises once we get over onto his own show. But I mean, like, all of this melodramatic dialogue, and then once you get over onto Angel, you have him raving about going to see the Omega Man, or hanging out with the Rat Pack and this kind of stuff, and he becomes such a dork.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
He was always a dork. I mean, this is pretty dorky.
Yeah, but we don't get. I think it's because it's through the lens of Buffy. I always hated Jan does have a point of comparing this to Bella and Edward. If they never did the Angelus arc, and they just kept the Buffy and Angel doing this for 7 seasons, I would probably look on Buffy and Angel just as favorably as I do Bella and Edward, because it's creepy, it's melodramatic. I mean, okay, it's not, this is the skin of a killer, but it's still pretty bad.
It's pretty cheesy and awful. It's not that much better. And he does do things like coming in through her window and watching her sleep and creeping. So, all the stuff that people keep saying, that Buffy never did this, so therefore it's superior. And I'm not trashing Buffy. I'm just saying it's not quite as good as people think.
And Angel is, I mean, he's the king of the mixed messages, because I mean, what the fuck is going on with their relationship? I mean, they've had like the one kiss they kissed in Angel. In the episode Angel, they kissed like twice in that, and since then there's not been anything yet.
I don't know. I suspect after Prophecy Girl, when they went to the dance, they might have been having smoochies.
Possibly.
I mean, I don't think they've never. I don't think that's the only time that they've kissed, honestly. But
there's probably a lot of off-screen stuff.
That's supposition.
They don't have an established relationship yet.
True.
Right.
We do get from this, it's like they have not even gone out on a date yet.
Yeah.
And, like, Angel's like, I love you, but I can't be with you. I love you so much. And Buffy's like, hey, can we, like, maybe go out and, like, interact with each other outside of, killing vampires? And Angel's like, no, I can't be with you. I love you so much, I forgot to brood.
Right,
Sorry.
and then, like, what we know later on is he basically, and I'm air quoting, fell in love with her the minute he saw her.
Right.
When she was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be snide on an astrological plane, it's like, oh god, like Angel is the most Piscean boy I've ever heard of. But anyway, except he's probably not.
Yeah. I have some wild speculation here.
Speculate wildly.
Yes, it ties in with the real world. Yeah, we discussed a while back the idea that the whole subject of the original conception of the show and the place of adults in the show, and how we basically in the Buffyverse, specifically Buffyverse as opposed to the expanded Buffyverse like Angel, but
Okay.
adults are incompetent.
Huh.
Yes.
And maybe some of the mixed messages and weirdness we're seeing with Angel is an echo of that.
And we shouldn't see him as a romantic. I don't want to see Angel as an adult if he's supposed to be a romantic pair for Buffy.
Well, but he is an adult.
I know he is, but
I mean, I know it's icky, but I mean, well, also, again, this may be something where the writers thought of him as an adult sometimes, and not as
they
an
did.
adult other
No, they
times,
totally thought of him as an adult.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if there's some of that incompetence clinging to him.
I think it's a great speculative theory.
Thank you.
And I enjoy that a lot.
Mhm.
That was not sarcasm. Like, I really enjoyed that
thank
point.
you. Yes.
I
mean, I
sometimes I come off as sarcastic when I'm not.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
I just like to make that clear, especially kids, you can't look me in the eye right now.
Well, thank you. But no, I mean, I introduced it as wild speculation because obviously it is. But
I think that's a fascinating piece of wild speculation. I don't know if that's what the writers were going
Right.
for, but I don't know. I get that kind of makes sense to me, David. I loved it.
Mhm. Yeah, that was how I felt about it. Is like, I don't know if there was any intent about this, but it kind of feels like there might be something to it.
It's an interesting idea. I don't think it was intentional. I think it was mostly we have to, make this couple dramatic and not, put them together.
It's also an homage to gothic romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So-
explains why I hate gothic romance so
Yeah, I'm
much.
not a fan of gothic romances either, so...
I like it, but I also like it in a historical context. I don't like, looking at it through a lens of when it was written as compared to modern day Gothic romance. If that makes any sense.
I
So,
understand that.
yeah,
I'm
so-
honestly trying to think of a single time when I liked the Buffy and Angel relationship when it actually worked for me, and I am really coming up short.
I waffle back and forth because I can see it through the lens of Buffy and where she is in terms of her growth, which I kind of want to get into next, is Buffy's growth and development. And I get that this is kind of that dramatic teenage relationship. It's your first love. It's super intense. It's the end all and be all of things until it's not. But it's not really all that deep, and it's not really as intimate. And I'm not talking sexually intimate. I'm talking like person to person intimate. Then the show and Buffy and the characters make it appear to be more all consuming, intimate, the love of her life, but it's not. And I think that's the lesson you take out of high school into college, is that these relationships are not what you think they are.
Well, I mean, not to turn this into a Bangle versus Buffy argument, which I'm sure will happen.
I'm willing to put my Spuffy aside for the sake of deep analysis of this show.
Yeah.
I can go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Buffy and Angel relationship, Buffy actually made comments about it in the episode Angel, where she's like, what kind of relationship could we have? Honey, you're in great danger, and then he goes away. That's basically the relationship they do end up having.
That's true.
We don't see a lot of times where Buffy and Angel have conversations where they are actually interacting kind of. I mean, there's a few times, like maybe in What's My Line, when Buffy is talking about how she loves skating, and then they end up going ice skating together. But with Buffy and Spike, they actually, for as much as they hate each other, there are a lot of times where they sit down and they talk to one another about what's going on.
Buffy and Spike getting drunk together is some of the best shit ever. It's hilarious.
In one of the episode, Buffy asks Spike, "So what do you know about finances?"
Yeah.
On Buffy, there's a lot more to Spike just in general than there is to Angel.
Yeah.
Angel is pretty
He's a
thin
cipher.
character-wise until
Pretty
Angel.
one-dimensional.
Until
Well,
the
I think
series,
what happened,
Angel.
I think the problem there, or not the problem, the issue there is that Angel was always created to be the romantic object of her affection, but Spike
Mysterious.
originally wasn't.
Yeah.
Spike was originally supposed to be just a villain and to be, a short-lived character,
Mhm.
and then it kind of, there was chemistry between the characters, and they kind of forced him into the romantic role, but there's character development that Angel never got, because Angel was always she's going to fall in love with this vampire, and so here he is. And they never did enough character building on Angel until, he went to his own show.
He goes over onto Angel, and then suddenly it's like, oh, well, we've got to build up this character as something more.
Yeah.
And
He's
that's
the
when
star of
I
the show
start-
now. We have to...
Yeah, right. And that's when I start to like him. It's like, oh, wow,
well-
there's an actual, there's stuff to this character. I think actually probably the moment where I officially fell in love with the character of Angel is the episode Judgment. So it's the season 2 first episode of season 2 of Angel, when he sings fucking Mandy, and they ask, and he's asked why he chose that song, and he says because he thinks it's pretty.
Well, if I may, and I'm 100%, I've said this before, the first time I really get on board with Buffy and Angel is like season 7 for 15 minutes. But I feel like he does get a lot of... He gets a little more fleshed out in season 3 after he comes back. Which is both a good thing and a bad thing, considering he has better chemistry with Faith, and their sort of... his attempt at redeeming her or helping her redeem herself than he does with Buffy throughout the course of his time in the show. But he does get...
I do like Buffy and Angel a little more in season 3, just because so much of that season was spent actually deconstructing the relationship. While here, we are it is idealizing it, and we still have not reached it. We've got to get to the point where surprise and innocence is actually earned, and it's a bit hard to get to. And then once we get to that, I love that part. I love them as villains. But then once we get to our enemies, and then once we get to season 3, we've got to see why this relationship will not work.
I think they went into season 3 with the intention of knowing that they're going to write this relationship absolutely knowing that it'll never work, and I think that sort of colored it, made it more complex, which is nice.
Yeah, well, with season 3, they already knew that David was going to be going over onto his own show, because I heard as early as the end of season 2 that they were planning to make a show. There were already rumors about that when Becoming happened.
Yeah, I mean, he was gonna have to get written out of this universe regardless of whether he got the spinoff. It's not sustainable. I mean, I think I invest a little bit more in Buffy and Angel,
just because you invest in Buffy.
Because I invest in Buffy, and so when she has to break her own heart, it breaks my heart. And I remember, I mean, obviously I've never been in love with a vampire that I know of. I have a lot of dates that I only ever saw after sundown, though. Okay, sorry. But they were like drummers in a rock band, so whatever.
I'm not sure that actually makes it more or less...
I've only been with emotional vampires.
So. Anyway, so I remember this kind of really like all-consuming, like you are everything, and how heartbroken I was when, and we're gonna get to this when we get to Surprise and Innocence, they ended up being not so great.
Right.
So
yeah, I the thing with me with Buffy and Angel is I really think that for a lot of the characters and the relationships on the show, I can look at it from a Watsonian point of view, where it's like I want look at it from a realistic point of view. But with Buffy and Angel, I'm always very Doyleist, where it's like, this is not entertaining for me. Go away.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. I mean. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get more heavily into this kind of, I think, as we're approaching those episodes where...
Oh, definitely.
The other thing I kind of was thinking about, and this is sort of off on a different path, if you don't mind. Does anybody mind?
Go for it.
No.
So I'm driving in my car, as I do when I drive. And I'm thinking about, like, the stuff with Giles and Buffy. And how he's, like, so on her, and... I mean, and at the end, I think Giles does learn an incredibly valuable lesson. Because she's like, I know, I lied to you once, I had one drink, and he's like, and I'm going to call it a lesson learned, and there was no punishment, And he says, you're right, I do need to give you more chances to be who you are and not come down on you like that. And, you know, so that I enjoyed that growth of them as like a parental relationship, a familial relationship. I don't know if you guys caught that.
No, I agree with you.
And it's all because of Willow.
Yes.
And it is all because of Willow, and I think that's amazing. And that actually then furthers his relationship with Willow. The thing that I really got out of this episode, and it's why I like it more, even though it's completely distasteful and gross in its thesis, it's the little moments. Like, if Giles had just let Buffy kind of hang out with her friends more and go to the Bronze, she may not have bought into Cordelia's whole sales tactic and going with the guys, because she would have felt more secure. Because at this age, lying, sneaking around, and testing boundaries, that's exactly what teenagers do.
Right, it's a thing. It's totally a thing.
Yeah, she was acting out more because she wasn't, given like a small little bit of freedom. And
right, and teenagers
Giles is
freedom
still
within structure.
Giles is still trying to figure his place out as Buffy's watcher. I felt in this episode he was very Wesleyan. In this
And he was also super funny. That's why
he was great.
He's ridiculously inept at the whole fighting thing.
He is not good at the fighting thing.
I was going to say that
except
actually
he is.
But he is. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I kind of like, maybe it's a Greenwald thing, but that actually endeared to me. I mean, I know it's like Tony Head is just really, really good at anything.
Oh,
he can play villains, and I just love the physical comedy, especially when he was like in the hallway practicing, and they suddenly come up and like see him being dorky.
Yeah,
maybe that's not perfectly in character for Giles, but it was adorable.
No, at this point,
it's adorable.
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder if they did that intentionally to set up the fact that in a couple of episodes we're going to get this big reveal that Giles was kind of a badass.
And I think Giles is really trying hard to not be a badass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that badassery is only triggered when there's grave danger.
Yeah.
And he needs it. And so but yeah, he's such a bumbling fool in this, and it's so adorable.
Yeah.
But he is. I had that precise thought that I was like, oh god, he's acting like Wesley.
Yeah. But better because he's adorable.
Yeah, well, I mean,
when Wesley
first comes in, I believe that episode has audio commentary on it from Joss, and I think Joss calls Wesley the ghost of Christmas past for
Giles. That makes sense. But I mean, yeah, the way Tony plays it is it's just freaking endearing, and I love it. And that scene at the end where he's learning, and I appreciate that because the grown-ups in this world are incompetent except for Giles.
Yeah, and
so
when
like
he
David's
mistake,
point,
he course corrects. He does actually
Yeah.
figure out how not to be incompetent in Area X until the next thing happens.
Yeah, he's one of the few adults that learns from his mistakes.
Yes, he absolutely does.
He's still at this point trying to conform to the Watcher Slayer dynamic and make Buffy fit into that Slayer mold that she will never fit into. And, it's like, no, you must go out patrolling. By the way, note of trivia, this is the first episode where the word patrolling is used.
Oh my god,
Nice.
really?
Yeah. It is, yeah. Before this, it was always referred to as hunting. But now it's patrolling, and it will be patrolling until the very end of the show.
Because it becomes regimented. She's not hunting one individual vampire or one problem. She's just doing a routine. But that's interesting. Good trivia.
And it also sort of feeds into that idea of her being, later at the end of season 3, the class protector thing. It changes the dynamic of what she does. She doesn't seek out fights, although at some point she does. That's part of her psychology. She's protecting things. She's making sure everything's on the up and up, which I think is very nice.
Speaking of psychology, who had something else? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, just talking about patrolling, fuck Xander and his undermining of Buffy by using Giles to be like, well, Buffy should go out patrolling so that she doesn't go to this party.
Xander. Yeah, that's what I was talking about in terms of Xander being like totally icky and skeevy in this episode.
Yeah, see, because, I don't break that out. That's just Xander doing his usual thing about like being jealous of guys and Buffy.
Yeah,
but it's Xander does not get to control Buffy's fucking autonomy, and that's a lot. And then he white knights her by going into the frat house. And, Xander is really freaking gross in this episode.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, I thought Tom was skeezy as fuck. I mean, like, that whole, I'm self-effacing and I'm not like the other boys.
Right.
I'm a nice guy trademark.
Okay, now, the first time you guys saw this episode, we were like, oh, that guy's bad too.
Yeah.
Like, there was never a question that he was ever a good guy. And
He was totally evil.
And
No,
I think they were trying to play maybe he's not so bad. I'm like, dude, come on. He's
He
22.
definitely did that, because, I mean, Callie says there's one who's nicer than the other, but that's the one you gotta watch out for. He's a dick.
Yeah,
But who is she talking about?
He's the epitome of the saying, the most important thing is sincerity. Once you can fake that, you've got it made.
Right.
Yeah, so, also, and so this episode gets to me with Buffy a lot, and I've talked about this on the podcast a couple of times, that sort of that way Sarah plays that sort of like heartbreak and that sort of darkness inside. And I kept thinking about this. I thought about the thing with Giles, which led to me going to Teachers Push Boundaries, which leads me to, oh god, this is terrible, you guys are gonna hate me, to thinking about developmental stages. Because that's what I study, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it makes you horrible. We hate you now.
Right.
Yes,
You're a monster.
But so there's a stage which teenagers have. It's like a pretty standard. It's not, fully 100% across the board. It's like identity versus role confusion, and Buffy never gets to move past that stage of her life because of the Slayer stuff. Her whole identity is formed around the Slayer stuff.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't have any ability to do things like go to a frat party responsibly or go to a non-frat party responsibly and do all these kind of irresponsible boundary testing things that she is trying, because it always comes back to the sacred duty of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I started thinking about
But
Buffy's
you're right, there is kind
psychology.
of arrested development with her because she can't break out of that mold.
Well, I mean, I have mentioned before, I don't know if this plays into, like, the biology of the Slayer, but I am fairly certain that Slayers are absolutely hardwired to not live past the teen years. And I'm pretty sure the cruciatum or whatever it's called, the test that she's supposed to go through when she's 18, I'm actually pretty sure that's a test to actually get rid of Slayers that are getting to be too old and, therefore, getting out of the control of the Watchers Council. So I'm pretty sure that the Slayer thing actually, does keep an arrested development.
But because of their proximity to the Slayer, Willow and Xander have some of the same kind of role confusion issues throughout their lives too. So they get not as derailed, because Xander actually sort of moves forward and develops a little bit more.
Of course, here is part of my problem with all of, the idea of an arrested development. The show ends when they're like 22.
Yeah.
Which is still incredibly young.
Yeah.
That's
Your
like basically
brain's not even fully developed at that point.
Yeah, that's like graduating from college. So, that's one thing, and watching a couple of season 6 episodes, I'm like, oh my god, Xander's so young to be getting married, and granted, he does not.
Spoiler.
We have a spoiler alert on the beginning of the podcast.
Yes.
So I think we're okay.
I think we're okay, but
it's not hard and fast. I knew people who actually got married while they were in college when I was in college, so it's not out of the realm. But it's still very young.
Yeah, but like everybody on this show, it ends when they're incredibly young, and I think actually, in conversations with dead people, was it Holden?
Holden, says Buffy.
Holden mentions it that how old are you? You're not that old. You don't have to have everything figured out now. And Buffy does have a line in this when they've decided to toast to maturity because those two assholes are just trying to make Buffy feel older than she is, and she, instead of taking it as this is her being older, she says, I'm sick of being mature, and then downs her drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she wants to be a teenager a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the marriage thing, I feel like it is, they're young, but you look at wartime marriage rates and how young people get, and these these kids are constantly at war. It may be a war that a lot of people
Oh,
don't see.
wow.
Yeah.
My mom.
That's a really nice point.
That's actually brought up a lot when it comes to Harry Potter, because you have, like, James and Lily were, like, 21 when they died.
Yeah.
And the Longbottoms were probably around the same age. So you have all of these people that had kids just, like, basically right out of school because they didn't know if they were going to live past 25.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I know in World War II, that was like a really big thing, that people married very young.
Well, my mom got married at 17 and a half.
My mom was
Wow.
21 when she got married, but that was 1968, so...
Yeah, no, my mom got married in, like, the early 40s. For her first marriage.
My sister got married at 23 this February. Yeah. Blessings be upon her.
Oh,
and her
good
wife.
for her.
But
I know, they're adorable.
Yeah, my mom was.
See, my mom was 23 in 1957, and she was considered an old maid. Most of her friends and her cousins were already married.
Yeah.
Seriously, because she and my dad were together for like 5 years dating, and they were friends for several years before that.
I'm not getting married the first time till I'm 45. I am the oldest of old hag maids in the entire universe.
Good for you.
No, I mean,
excuse me, I'm older than you, and I'm still not married. So hey.
Yeah.
My parents were 23 when they got married. They just celebrated their 40th anniversary.
Right.
I mean, I should point out that my mother was 17 and a half, but she was a junior in college. Right. So, yeah. Wow. My mother was... at the time, the youngest person ever to enter Hunter College. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Smarty pants.
Cool.
And then she dropped out in her junior year to get married. So
wow, damn.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, by the time you get to the 90s and sort of the personalities and the lifestyle of the Scooby Gang, 22 seems so young as opposed to my mother, who got married when she was 21 and she finished college and had already enrolled in a master's program. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I look at the Scoobies now and I'm just at 22 and I'm like, you guys are babies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we forget that in some ways because they were in their late 20s. I mean, Sarah's actually the youngest one. She's only a year or two younger than Buffy. I'm sorry, older than Buffy. I think she was 19 or something when she started.
When I grew up watching this show, and Buffy was supposed to be born in 81. Mm-hmm. So I was born in 83. So I'm 2 years younger than Buffy. Yeah. So of course
you were right along the markers of where they were at.
Basically, I mean, I was a little bit younger than that, so I kind of didn't get like the whole high school thing because I was still, in like grade school. Right. But so I mean, they always seemed like so much older, and it was exotic and stuff like that. But now looking back on it now, and I'm like, you were babies.
Oh, totally.
Right, but they're WB teenager teenager adult babies. So, and we'll get to that. We adult babies. Sorry,
Jim Henson's WB adult babies.
Puffy babies.
Oh Lord.
Adult teenage babies.
Baby vampires.
I think I graduated the same year as the class of West Beverly High on Beverly Hills 90210. That's my big thing. Is as the same age as the characters on Beverly Hills 90210.
So you could be a parent on Riverdale now?
I could be a parent on Riverdale, and I'd be a damn good one.
I could be a grandparent. You guys are making me feel ancient here. So
I'm from New Mexico. I could have like a 25-year-old child right now. Okay, a lot of my friends got pregnant when they were 15.
I had friends in college. I had one set of friends who got married at the end of our junior year, and they have like 25-year-old kids now who are married themselves. Yeah. And I have no kids, but I have other friends who have kids who are still like early teens, so it's not cut and dried. But Buffy, I feel old.
So Buffy is quite young.
Yes.
But
yes.
I did apply some Erickson's developmental theory to Buffy this week, and I found it. My therapist was super proud of me for doing that. So
can you get extra credit for that?
Not with my therapist.
Well, no, but
my therapist gives me extra credit. What are you talking about?
No, I'll bring it up. Maybe I'll write a paper on developmental theory and the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Scoobies.
That's actually that's a very, very good master's degree. Yeah.
Paper? Write a fucking book.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I can't write a book. Anyway.
Actually, speaking of books and the Buffyverse, they have the philosophy and so-and-so.
I got
philosophy
them
and Harry
all.
Potter.
Yeah.
Do they have a Buffy one?
It's Fear and... Okay, I'm looking right at it, and it is called Fear and Loathing in Sunnydale. There's also one called Why Buffy Matters. There's Angel and Philosophy. I own all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
I even own the one on Buffy and Religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually went to school with one of the people who edited the first of those volumes.
Nice.
Yeah. One of my classmates was one of the 3 editors of Philosophy and The Simpsons.
Oh,
Nice.
very interesting.
When it comes to the Buffy books, I'm always kind of wary of them because I'm always wondering how much stuff they've taken from all things philosophical on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Because I was friends with Masquerade the Philosopher, and I know she didn't do any of those books, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of her research and all things philosophical on Buffy the Vampire Slayer is an amazing site, which is still up there.
I'll have to check that. I mean, some of them are, and there's lots of them, and some of them feel really incomplete because they were written before the end of the 7th season. Some were written after the whole series was over, looking back. Yeah, I have all of them if anybody wants me to mail you one of them one of these days, guys.
And some of them are more sort of popular philosophy, and some of them are really academic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wide range.
Buffy has the highest rate of academic discourse than any piece of popular media.
Really?
Really?
There's an entire Buffy Studies website and journal that has been published since the middle of season 4.
That doesn't sound. I feel like there's a lot.
I am thinking Sherlock Holmes probably.
Oh, okay.
beats out
I'm
Buffy.
sorry. No, okay. Besides Sherlock Holmes, yes. Thank you for correcting that. Besides Sherlock Holmes fandom,
maybe by if you go by year, Buffy has had a lot just in terms of just the timeline. Since
television
years.
shows. Out of modern television shows, there's the most scholarship about Buffy than I think any other modern television show. Yeah, I'm not talking about Sherlock Holmes fandom, which is of course.
Because I'm also thinking about Star Trek. There is a shit ton on Star Trek.
More about But anyway, so I have those books.
Off topic
because I am such a Buffy nerd.
Oh no, I've got a ton of the Buffy books too.
I probably do too, but that's probably because I'm a book nerd.
It's terrible. I keep on looking away to look at my shelf of Buffy books.
I do too, and then
you have to talk into the fucking mic.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing. Anyway, Buffy.
Buffy, yes.
Buffy, but I gotta do it again. I'm sorry, except I'm not. Let's talk about Cordy's resilience. Should be my intro line. Yeah. That her bit when they finally get released is absolutely stunning.
Oh, it's just
when she hits the guy, and it's just you're going away for the next 10,000 years.
It's something absurd, but also the strangest things happen when I'm with you guys.
Yes,
you guys. You guys, I hate you guys.
You guys, yep, that bit is so great.
Yeah.
And
again,
then she's just
you
saved us, and then just glomps onto Angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you see her the next night, and she is back to being Cordy.
With Jonathan.
I have to say,
Jonathan again. Jonathan gets a name in this episode, and he's dating Cordelia.
I don't know if he's dating so much as just
he's
fulfilling
serving Cordelia.
If you ask Jonathan, he'll say that he dated Cordelia.
True that.
Okay.
But it seems to be a very BDSM, relationship there. But as long as they're both consenting to it, hey, it makes them happy.
I have to say, I honestly do not like Cordy in this episode until that final scene where she gives it to Tom. But she for me, she goes over the line.
She's a little extra.
Like when she goes why did I let you invite me to this party?
Yeah,
and she's like, I'm having you come to this party because I need you to go to my party, and here are my rules.
Yeah,
and I note Buffy ignored one of her rules.
She wore black.
She wore black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, this is probably my least favorite portrayal of Cordelia. Because, it's something felt off about it.
Cordelia is super, super, super superficial. She's superficial, all those things. But even just the whole, this doctor and this fashion magazine says that if you do that, the fake laugh is priceless.
Oh, the fight.
I think we all need to do it at the end of the episode because it's great.
Right.
But yeah, and I think it's Greenwald again, not understanding how women work at all.
And I mean, I also feel like, like I said in the last episode with Inca Mummy Girl, that it felt almost like a throwback to season 1. I feel like Cordelia was almost a throwback to season 1.
Yeah.
I mean, the other than the fact that she acknowledges that the weird stuff always happens when she's with the Scooby Gang, but the fact that she doesn't really want to interact with Buffy at all, that she's being pretty mean. It is a lot of it doesn't seem to be the actions of someone who has willingly hung out with Buffy and said that she would be there
and whittled steaks.
Yeah, and even weirdly flirting with Xander. I mean, not flirting per se, but connecting with him in some weird way. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that laying of the groundwork again of the sort of tone of their relationship, especially when they're in the hallway.
The thing is, like, when these episodes are, laid out, I don't know, when they get from, script writing to, like, arranging where they're going to be in the season. This episode maybe was not supposed to be episode 5 originally. Maybe it was supposed to be episode 2 or something.
Maybe.
Which might have made more sense.
Yeah. And stuff like this. I mean, obviously, they are not at that point yet, and so this is just we didn't know they were going to do this. But in season 3, we find out that Cordy's actually really smart and got into a bunch of good colleges. Yeah. And here, she's just an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in an episode in season. We talked about that a lot in the episode that we did on Out of Sight, Out of Mind, Out of Sight.
Right.
About talking about how Cordy really, has really good scores, gets in great colleges. And actually, even in that episode, she goes up. She's totally wrong about her perception of Shylock. I remember we had that conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
But she does go to the teacher and says, I'm having problems, I need help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's also goes back to Cordy does what is expected in a very, like, this is what rich people do, and I need more money, and I need to marry rich. And so I'm gonna date Richard.
Okay, so we do have some music notes. The first thing I will mention is that Christoph Beck did not score this episode. It was actually scored by Sean K. Clement and Sean Murray.
Okay, I had a question about that, though.
Yes.
Because all the wikis I read said that they did the original music, but it never said they did the score. On screen, I'm sure it said they did the score, right? Does anybody remember when they were actually watching the episode what the title card said?
No.
Nope.
Okay, because a lot of...
I just looking at IMDb and all of the score music, it says that it was written and performed by them.
Yeah. And then, so was the incidental music, though. So were some of the songs, the actual songs with lyrics.
Yeah.
Were also...
I'm most of the places that I go to look for music from these episodes, for some reason I did not mark down either I skipped over where the music was, so I ended up going to IMDb, which is really not the best place to find music. So does anybody else have the music written down? Or
I do. And it is
I only have
it is blah 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 blah. See, there's some music for you. I made some for you. There are all these different tracks labeled Sean K. Clements and Sean W. Murray.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are actually ones, because I went and looked them up, that have lyrics and stuff.
Oh, really?
And they continue through season 2 to, even when Christoph is doing the score, having some actual vocal interstitial music. This stuff at the Bronze or playing over the radio. And so this says they did a song called Graffiti Sound, one called Devil's Lair, Wolves, and Secrets. And I don't know how many of them...
If I Can't Have You.
What?
And one called If I Can't Have You.
And one If I Can't Have You. So I don't know
there's
how
also
many of those
Brewski
are names
Time
of the score and what?
There's one called Brewski Time.
Brewski Time. Oh, that's probably Score, though. That sounds like a... And then the other song that they had was Bring Me On by Active Faith. Mm-hmm. And one called She by Louis Says. And that's the one I always think sounds like Smashing Pumpkins. The guy's voice sounds a little bit like Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
Okay, Bring Me On was when Xander was dancing at the frat party, which we didn't actually talk about, and oh my god, I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's true. Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
I mean, that's basically all I have to say. It's just I fucking hate that.
I just want to point out, like, it's a fraternity, so of course they have multiple paddles.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Okay. I know a little bit too much about Greek life because both my best friend was the president of her professional music fraternity, and she was in a service sorority, and my sister was vice president of her music sorority. So I know too much about it, even though I've never done anything with Greek life. Those paddles, you're not supposed to like show them around in the general public.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
So and I actually had a bunch of stuff about hazing, but we are running dangerously close to being out of time. So
yeah, and the other thing I really hate about that though is let's go ahead and weaponize femininity against men.
Exactly, yeah.
I hate that, and I hate that trope. Let's make you dress like a girl so we can mock you, because girls are mockable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On the other hand, that is a shitty thing that frat boys do. I mean, there's a lot of hazing. Yeah,
it is.
That ties into it, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
So.
I think a continuing motif that we're running into a lot in this show, just throughout the series. Huh? Oh, yeah, well, that. But no. But also just, like, stuff where we're, like, there's stuff we're really kind of put off by, but it's actually kind of realistic.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the stuff about like what 16-year-old girls do that we were talking about earlier.
True.
It's like watching the show, it's like, but it's still kind of realistic.
Yeah.
So
the other song, She by Louis Says, was played at the end of the episode when Angel asked Buffy for coffee, which is another thing that bothered me about this episode. We've spent all of this time with Buffy and Angel going back and forth, and at the very end she's got to play coy and shit. I mean, what kind of rules bullshit is this?
Very
she learned it
by a
from
man
Corey.
TV trope, high school girl trope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, fuck it all.
140 years or whatever.
Okay. So I have two quick things I wanted to bring up. One production note: the scene where Cordy is telling Buffy she needs her to come to the frat party, and she starts talking about how they're like sisters, except with different hair. Like all of a sudden they cut to this extreme close up of Cordy, and it just looks really weird.
Yeah.
It's like, what? That, like, makes no sense to me as an editor, and I'm just, like, watching it's like, what? Maybe, I mean, I can come up with reasons, but the other...
Yeah, I was going to say, there was probably a technical reason, like, they just didn't get the covering shot, and they had to throw something in there.
Exactly, but it looks weird. But the other thing is, early in the episode, Cordy says to Xander, I'm sure you'll eventually go to college, and you'll also be able to get dates, or
in Bizarro World.
No, that's later. But
Oh.
I noted when she said that, it's like, Xander does not, in fact, go to college.
No,
He never does.
But she also makes some crack. Is it this week or last week about him being a pizza delivery boy? So
I think it was this week.
Yeah. So it ties into that too. It's like,
okay. So final thoughts on Reptile Boy.
I really kind of like some of these relationship dynamics and Willow's growth. Giles is adorable, but other than that, David Greenwalt, you're gross.
On the whole, yeah, I like the human aspect of it. I definitely enjoy the way the Scoobies interact with each other. I like the development of Giles' parental role in Buffy's life. You could have hammered the penis metaphor a little more gently.
The hammer is my penis.
As I said, it wants to be a metaphor, an important metaphor about date rape, and it just doesn't quite get there. And it's I'm guessing a middle-aged guy writing about teenage girls and just missing the mark bigly. Just
Hey, Jan, would you say the metaphor is flaccid?
very flaccid. It is not a hard. The metaphor is just not. Yeah, forget it. Yeah, it's flaccid. It needs a hand.
All right, we're devolving into dick jokes.
Well, okay. Come on, you've got a goddamn reptile penisaurus in this. It's got to be a dick joke.
Oh, it'll be a lot worse once we get to Double Meat Palace.
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Hey.
Your thoughts on?
Meh. There are some nice moments. Willow's outburst is great. Like Willow actually gets some development here, which is nice. Other than that, I mean, like I said, there's a nice moment here and there, but really overall,
I am going to be the extreme voice in this. Other than like maybe 2 moments in this episode, I fucking hate this one. I think this episode is worse than Teacher's Pet. Teacher's Pet was the 4th episode, so I mean there were still growing pains. By now they should know fucking better.
Oh, so you're grading on a curve?
Well, yes.
Okay.
You're allowed.
But yeah, no, this Teacher's Pet, I feel is, kind of, it's bad, but relatively harmless. This I just find unpleasant, and this is one that I skip over. I do not like this one at all.
You know my hate on for Teacher's Pet, and I think this one is still slightly above it, mainly because the Bollywood and the hair braiding and Willow, but it's right there. It's like, it's only like not even 2%, like 0.5% better than Teacher's Pet.
Yeah, this is not a good episode.
Greenwald, do better!
Do better, Greenwald.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay, so I think next time we will have more fun with the return of Spike and Oz and the introduction of Ethan Rain.
Ethan Rain!
We will be reviewing Halloween.
Yes.
Yay!
So, until then, grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
That was my favorite.
Grr, arg.
We'd like to thank everyone who downloaded the podcast, and an extra special thanks to everyone who shared, liked, and subscribed on social media. We got a comment from our good friend Dawn this week on our episode School Hard. Hey, I always thought Snyder's reaction was similar to Cordelia's. No demons, vampires, or whatever was going to change who he is at his core. He reacts to them as though they were any other problems to be dealt with. Like Cordelia talking about the difficulty of getting the stain out of her sweater at the end of When She Was Bad. That's actually a really good way to look at Snyder and Cordelia in terms of the whole supernatural thing. I really don't think Snyder gives a shit if there are demons or whatever. He just wants to run his school and be a miserable little hobbit. I mean, I do think he knew about the supernatural because they do heavily hint about that, and that he's covering up a lot of this stuff for the mayor. But I think mostly he was just concerned about the mayor being on his good side. So it's like, Snyder don't give a shit. Snyder's just out there taking care of Schneider. So thank you for your comment, and please send us more. You can contact us on our website, returntothehellmouth.com, on YouTube at Return to the Hellmouth, on Tumblr and Facebook at Return to the Hellmouth, on Twitter at HellmouthReturn, or on email at returntothehellmouth@gmail.com. And we'll read your comments and talk about them on the show. Also be sure to rate us on iTunes and Stitcher, and we'll see you on Tuesday for Halloween.
Grr, arg.